Good morning, Michigan. Bright, beautiful day out here today. Behind me you see a Dyna 1231 wood chipper. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through how to flip the knives over. This is a Gen 1 machine, so there are some differences between Gen 1 and Gen 2 in how the knives are mounted. So we'll look at the Gen 1, how the Gen 1 knives are mounted, and the field upgrade kit to make them more like the Gen 2 and later machines. And it all has to do with how the knives index and how easy they are to get aligned and get the clearance on the anvil correct. We'll show you what tools we use to do all this with. It's actually fairly easy. It's a made in America machine. Everything is SAE, so you might have to dig around in the bottom of your toolbox and find those tools. I know so many of the things I work on anymore are metric, so those seem to have floated to the top. So let's get to it. We probably won't do all the knives. I mean, once you've seen one or two or four, you've pretty much seen them all. So here we go. Alright, so this is what we've got. We knocked all that stuff off. We've opened up we engaged the clutch, and then we ran it. You saw the stuff blow out. We've got the feed wheel in the up position. Hopefully that comes in. You see that right there. And you will probably notice that I made a mistake, and I did not disengage the clutch before I shut it down. So that is my mistake. We should be good to go now. So here we go. All right, step one is removing these 4 bolts from the top of the knife compartment. These are 3/4 inch SAE bolts. This plate that's 1/4 inch plate steel, so this deck is really heavy. One of the things that I have noticed before is these holes get jacked up pretty good with debris. So before you put everything back together, you want to make sure you clean all this out, otherwise all this debris will foul the threads. Other thing, you can see that this is the back of the blade here, and we want to go in and clean all that out, because we're going to pull this bolt and this bolt out when we flip this knife over. But I'm going to grab a screwdriver, and I'm not going to introduce a bunch of water to this because it's just going to become a muddy mess if I do. So we'll clean this out and get started on flipping these knives over. if you've been running a bunch of wet product, these are going to be a little bit more difficult to clear. But if this one's been running some dry material, so you see all this junk just absolutely falls out of the back pocket. When moving this wheel, I would say be very careful. The knives are very, very sharp. Alright, now you can see after we've run it, let's see if I can get this down in here a little bit. We've actually cleaned out that chamber down below quite a bit. One of the other tools you're going to want to have handy is a magnetic retriever tool. I don't know about you, but I tend to drop these bolts from time to time. And the nice thing about having an open drum like this is getting in there to retrieve the bolts is not nearly as difficult. So you see the drum spins freely now. We've gotten all the junk blown out of the fan. And let's start flipping these knives over. Alright, so I don't know if we can see this tooth right here. We can see how this tooth is all chewed up on this side. And look at this tooth over here. That sucker looks brand new. A little ding right there. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip these over all equally, so that when we send them to sharpening, we'll sharpen all the sides at the same time. These bolts are 3/4 inch also SAE, so we've got an impact that will just pop these things off real quick. Okay, I've got these two teeth flipped over. You can see the X marks on the top, and you can see if we rotate this down towards the anvil, you can see our gap right here, and it is pretty good. It's probably a thou closer on that edge. You can feel a little bit more drag. Let's move it in a little bit. Again, looks pretty good. I move this one up here, and we'll keep going. Make sure the bolt's clear. The bolt's clear just fine. The bolts, wow, this bolt is. I still need to tighten this up, so I think I've got room. You can see I've got a gap here, so I'll run this bolt down and make sure I'm good. On this side, you can see right here, I got a little bit of drag there, but I'm good here. I could use a couple thou on this side, but overall, putting these in and pulling them all the way back in the pocket and aligning them as far back as they'll go gives me that 30 thou clearance, which is credit card or hotel room key card. All right, so you've seen me, I've been pulling these knives off, and what I've been pulling out is been 2 bolts with lock nuts. This is a Gen 1 machine, so these knives, there was no indexing for the knife to the wheel or to the drum, so we just had these 2. Dyna came out with a block that goes, a retrofit kit. This block goes underneath and goes in like this. There is a top and a bottom to this block, so when you're putting these on, make sure you get it right, and if you're changing them, make sure you get it right too. if you have a Gen 2 or later machine, this block and these indexing holes will already be built into the machine. You won't have to deal with this. But because this is a Gen 1, we're just doing the field retrofit, to make this easier. When I install these knives with the backer block, push everything as far back as I can. The alignment is very good. It is very straight and gives me right at a 30 thou clearance on the front of this, on the edge of this knife. So that's pretty good. And this is a new set of knives. If the knives have been ground a couple times, you may have to move them up a little bit to get that clearance. So there's where we're at. I'm going to finish up getting these knives on, and we'll get this machine back in service.